In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Christos anisti. Christ is risen. All right. Wishing you all a blessed Feast of Ascension. And this weekend we will have the Pentecost. You may not like me for saying this, but we are going to start fasting again on Monday. So it's not Abuna's fast, it's not the Sony's fast, it's the Apostles' fast, or the fast of the service. So you need to do it. So sorry if you don't like that, but that's what it is. We posted the Slido like last time. So for those that have questions, feel free to post. I'll say it out loud, it's in the group. But 385-0595. Again, 385-0595 is the Slido. Okay. So this is the talk that personally I was very excited about, which sounds terrible, as though I, enjoy breakups, but I don't, in case you're wondering. I think that they're very sad for everyone involved. But the reason that I care so much about this is because I think that this is an area that we really, really, really don't do well. Dealing with emotions is hard at baseline, okay? And when you have the idea that the person in front of you is your person, and this is what you want, and this is who you're going to spend your life with, and, we get in our head a lot. We make a lot of irrational justifications. And then everyone in your life that loves you asks the simple question, what are you thinking? Okay? And so if we just get past that and we actually do the breaking up, then there's a whole nother disaster. And that disaster is how we manage our emotions afterward, in addition to whether or not we can keep our word. Okay? All this vacillation back and forth. This is not an easy thing to do. But when we're doing this, we are increasing the trauma and the suffering that we are experiencing in this journey because we can't get out of our own way. And so I hope that tonight doesn't even matter for any of you, because either A, you're never going to go through one, which is probably not true, or B, you never had to deal with this. That's what I hope for. But most likely, you're probably going through it, thinking about it, or anticipating it at some point, and you'd be right about all of those things. So with that being said, I want to talk about the purpose of ending a relationship. Like, what do you think is the purpose of ending a relationship? What is the purpose? Disagreements, okay. That's a reason. What else? What's the purpose? Separate, okay. Not bad. Anybody else? What's the purpose? Huh? Knowing that God didn't want that for you. I like that one. I think all those are right. I have a very specific line that I want to share with you. I think breakups exist to lead to spiritual breakdowns. Spiritual breakdowns facilitate a path to spiritual breakthroughs, so we can continue our spiritual journey. Again, I'm going to say that one more time. Breakups should lead to spiritual breakdowns. And those spiritual breakdowns should facilitate a path to spiritual breakthroughs in our journeys with God. If you don't get to the finish line in a relationship, it is not the end of the world. That is not what you believe in that moment, for whatever reason, but that is the reality. If we believe that all things work together for good, for those who love God, if we believe that statement, then anytime that door slams in your face, God is doing you a favor. He's trying to teach you something. He's trying to teach you something. And he's telling you There is something inside of you that needs to be broken, needs to be calibrated, needs to be reset in order to have a breakthrough. There is no breakup that doesn't lead to a breakdown, okay? That's a fact. But there are plenty of breakups that lead to breakdowns that do not lead to breakthroughs. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that there are breakdowns that do not lead to breakthroughs?
Despair.
Despair, okay. Can you tell me more about despair? What do you mean by that?
Breakdown. They never get back.
Yep, they wallow in it, okay. Anybody else? Huh? Yes, they medicate instead of calibrate, correct. Absolutely. Medicate instead of calibrate, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so last week we had a bunch of statistics that Abuna gave us about relationships. So at the August Stephen Institute, that's not real, I made that up. For those that are OGs, you know what I mean. We did some research as well. And in our research, breakups are 100% beneficial to the spiritual life of those who lean on God and are willing to leave behind a person. And breakups are also 100% destructive to the earthly lives of people who leave behind God and try to lean on a person who is trying to leave. You understand? If you want to benefit from the moments in your life that are hard, if you actually want to grow and use them for God, then you need to lean on God in those moments. Okay? But what ends up happening many times is that we leave God out and we lean on the person that's trying to leave. They just need more of me. I just have to. If I just do this, if I just do that, if I just make this, if I just make that, it will be enough. It's so amazing how hard we reach for this person. And now I'll challenge you. Why can't you reach like that for God? Why can't you reach like that for God? Why is it that it's significantly easier for us to do that reaching for a person? I will lose 15 pounds. I will change the color of my hair. I will actually get a serious major. I'll get a real job. I will start going to church. I'll read my Bible. I'll stop drinking. I'll stop smoking pot. I'll stop having sex. I'll stop watching porn. The number of things that y'all are willing to do to keep a person in your life. And yet, God, you're not willing to give an ounce. What's the dizzle? Why do we do that? What do you think? Huh? You don't love God? I won't go that far. I'll give you credit. You love God. What do you think? Lack of faith? In what? There it is. If you didn't hear it, you have more confidence that the person in front of you, that you have to give up parts of yourself, sometimes the right part, don't get me wrong, sometimes the right part, but the person in front of you, wouldn't it be funny if I lost my voice before we could finish this talk? Maybe it's not that funny. Okay, that's fine. You're more confident that the person in front of you will satisfy you and give you comfort and make you feel a certain way that God can't. That's wild. When you say it out loud, because that's the quiet part, when you say that out loud, it sounds insane. And yet, welcome to the majority of people's relationships. I talked about a bunch of things that you'll stop that are unhealthy, but you know some of the things you stop that are healthy? Stop talking to family members. You're willing to be less of yourself personality-wise. You're willing to change your interactions with your friends. You're willing to change so much about yourself for a person in front of you. because you're so sure they're going to make you happy. And yet, for God, God forbid you give him that same effort, what he could do with you. So like I said, based on my research at the August Stephen Institute, I'm not going to tell the story, but if you know, you know. Breakups are 100% beneficial to the spiritual life of those who lean on God and leave behind a person. And they are 100% destructive to the lives of people who leave behind God and try to lean on a person who's trying to leave. We got to make better choices. That is the crux of what we're talking about tonight, is if we're going to walk away, that's fine. Where are we going to go after we do it? Okay, so that being said, what we're going to meditate on by the grace of God is how to end a relationship, why to end a relationship, and then what to do after a relationship is over. Okay? Stay with me as best as you can. If you get tired, you get tired. We put the Slido, like I said, in the WhatsApp. Actually, Andy, if you can throw it on the board, it's in the WhatsApp group. That way people can see it on the screen. Okay. So the first thing we're going to focus on are the reasons. The reasons. What are the reasons that we end a relationship? What are the reasons that we end a relationship? Selfishness, okay. Emotional disconnection, okay. Anybody else? Why do we end relationships, huh? Incompatible, yeah. Mm-hmm. Communication, what else? No progress, okay. Yeah. Huh? Dishonesty. Oops, it's getting juicy. What else? Cheating. Oof, betrayal. كمل يلا بقى تمثيلية يلا. No, come on, I was kidding. I don't want that. Huh? What's up? No, okay. Anybody else? What are reasons relationships end? What are reasons that we decide to end relationships? Not salvation oriented. Okay, great. You know what I heard? I heard a lot of reasons that were God-fearing, and I heard a lot of reasons that are non-God-fearing. Okay? See, when there are reasons to end a relationship, you have to remember something. Just like with your life, with decisions, there's no right and wrong with your decisions when you're an adult. Okay? There's God choices and not God choices. There are choices that you make to honor God and to be faithful toward him. And then there are choices that you make to stray away from him. God choices, not God choices. Okay? The same thing with relationships and reasons to end a relationship. There are God reasons to end a relationship, and there are not God reasons to end a relationship. I will give you some examples of God reasons to end a relationship. Impurity, confusion, timing, circumstances, lack of connection, spiritually or emotionally. Maybe some of your deal breakers were unfulfilled. Violence or adultery. These are God reasons. These are righteous reasons to walk away. But then there are not God reasons to walk away. Gratifying lusts, comparison, judgment of a person's past or family, lack of self-control, lack of desire to mature or commit. Those are just a couple of examples of different relationship reasons to end a relationship. But you know that all those things have one thing in common? What do you think all those reasons have in common? Sure, okay. Anybody else? Huh? Falling short, okay. Getting there. Are any of these reasons wrong? Raise your hand if you think any of these reasons were wrong. Okay. Not raising your hand, so you probably figured it out. Go ahead, you had a question? There are reasons that are wrong. Okay, okay. Not to correct you, There are no wrong reasons to end a relationship, okay? I said there are not God reasons, and there are God reasons. There are no wrong reasons to end a relationship. Why? Because if your heart's not in it, or the other person's heart's not in it, and that reason is enough to make them walk away, it's a good reason. You deserve to be in a relationship with someone who wants to be there, who sees the reasons not as something to rupture the relationship, but something they want to work through. What I find too often is that we think, well, this is a good reason or a bad reason, maybe I should stay. Should you stay sometimes? Yes, but there's a different concept associated with that. The whole point is, if there's anything in your heart that's taking you out of the relationship, not making you want to finish, by the way, is not date because we look cute on Instagram, people, okay? Or because our parents or our friends are shipping us, right? That's not why. The end is marriage. The mission is the ring to get to the altar, okay? Because that's the path to salvation. So there are no wrong reasons. All reasons that make you question whether or not you're in it are good enough, You will be judged for that behavior later in your life. Here's the thing. If there are reasons inside of you that are making you question whether or not you want to pursue the relationship, depending on how deep you are in, you owe it to the person in front of you to have a conversation. You know what I don't like? We've been on 4 dates. I kind of like you, you kind of like me, but we're really not vibing. But let me tell you why you suck and tell you why this isn't going to work. What did you gain from that? What did you gain from just those reasons? I got to go tell you all the things that are wrong with you. It's a wound. It's better to just walk away gracefully, to have a conversation about not having peace and call it. When do you actually go through the reasons and unpack them? If you've been in this for 3 to 5 months, your father of confession is involved, your parents are potentially involved, you guys have had conversations about deal breakers in your life, now we're being serious. Now the reasons that you're struggling with are reasons you need to confront. If you're serious about the relationship, you got to have a confrontation. You got to be willing to be uncomfortable for the sake of the other person. But we don't have that inside of us. No. We're too nice. It's not the Christian thing to tell you how I feel. Now? Excuse me? No, it absolutely is. But what did St. Paul say? Speak the truth in love. Didn't say speak a lie. Didn't say speak the truth in slaps. Not how it works. But here we are, guys. We have a gift. Our gift is we clock you, or we just ghost you. Congratulations. Both of those are immature. If you want to walk away, confront the reasons on your heart. Confront them. Sit with them alone first. Pray about them. Is this enough of a reason to walk away? Sit with your father of confession. Is this enough of a reason to walk away? And then ask yourself, how much of this is my inflexibility versus a real weakness and a potential fissure in the relationship? These are the questions. And then, if it's a real weakness, you need to confront it. You owe it to the person that you've been giving time to confront it. Listen, I'm saying this again to be clear. This is a GYP talk. This is for grads, because grads, it's a 2-year timeline. I'm sorry. Getting to know someone to the finish line, right? 2 years. If this is, I'm in this for 5 years because I'm in my first year of college and we love each other and we're going to, no. You can learn this principle, but I'm talking about this is how we get to the finish line, okay? See, Don't mistake where you are in life, because it will trip you up. If you decide, oh, we could be doing this for 5 years, we've only been dating for 3 months, we should probably have a reasons talk. What? No. This is not the time. This is where, based on where I'm at in life, it's better to gracefully walk away. This is why I keep saying, pump the brakes on when you get into relationships, because when you get in affects how you get out and what happens when you get out. So spend time figuring out the reasons that are separating you from the person. You have to have the spirit of reflection. If you have something on your heart that's making you question this relationship that you're in, God's given you something to ponder, so do it. In the book of the Psalms, chapter 139, verses 23 to 24. The Lord says, or David says to the Lord, or the Lord says through David, excuse me, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxieties, and see if there is any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but this is so important. When you're really struggling with whether or not you know what you want, and this, like, if this is the right thing for you, you got to start praying about this. And you got to start asking yourself, is this questioning my value as a person? Is this questioning or altering my spiritual path in an adverse way? Is this forcing me to confront a selfish part of myself that needs to improve? There are God reasons and not God reasons relationships should end. Okay? But when you confront the reality of the reasons, you will know whether or not you should confront the person. So confront within yourself, then you can confront the person in front of you. So the first concept is the reasons that lead us to make a choice to walk away. Okay? And we have to always ask ourselves, when there's a reason that's making us feel like our heart's not in it, it's not a wrong thing. I would rather you be out if you're not all in. The person in front of you deserves it. And if you're the other side, you deserve it. Okay? But when there's a reason on your heart and the relationship is serious, meaning you guys have been at it for 3 to 5 months, fathers of confession are involved, parents potentially involved, marriage is on the table, you owe it to the person in front of you. You owe it to the person in front of you to have conversations about the reasons that are making you anxious. And then you can make a choice of whether or not to go forward or not. So that's the reasons. The next is the route. Okay. So here's how it usually goes, okay? I got this feeling. I'm not sure about this guy. I'm not sure about this girl. And what do I start doing? Start asking my friends. So, hypothetically speaking, if Captain Falafel and Tassoni Tameya were having a conversation and he did not laugh at her jokes, should he break up with her because he's not funny? Or what do you think? What do you think? I'm just wondering. Give me your thoughts, right? We start asking the council of, whatever. I've gone through this enough times. I'm done, okay? We're asking all these ridiculous people who are probably trying to figure the same thing out that you are, what to do about this problem, right? Now I'm hearing people saying I'm chat GBTing what to do about this relationship. It's like, y'all be asking AI now what to do, right? Like, come on, can we get it together, right? We're up in AI, we're asking our friends, we're watching YouTube shorts, and this girl who can swallow 18 eggs at once, all of a sudden she's a relationship guru. Like, what are you guys doing, right? This is what is this? But here we are. We're asking all of these crazy people, right? And reading all of these ridiculous articles to see whether or not we're supposed to move forward with this relationship. All of these, by the way, in case you're wondering, none of these routes are the right one. Remember I said there's God choices and not God choices? This isn't even a God, this is just a dumb choice. This is just going to all these places blows up in your face every time, okay? Because everybody has a bias, or it's not authentic or personal to you. So the route you go when you're choosing to walk away really matters. Who are the people that you've trusted in this relationship to give you wise and objective advice? Who have you trusted? Okay? Wise and objective. It has to be both. Objective, they don't have a stake in the game. But wise, spiritually minded. Okay? Yes, there could be an objective reason why someone's telling you to walk away, but is it righteous? It's a question. I personally encourage strongly that you should be sitting with your father of confession and or your parents if they've been involved in the process and they have demonstrated through the process objectivity and wisdom. Notice how I caveated that, okay? Mom and dad need to be involved. And if mom and dad are biased and the bias does not have spiritual wisdom grounded in it, take it with a grain of salt. Sorry if you don't like that. You'll deal. All right? Your father of confession. If the father of confession is playing favorites, which is uncommon, if at all, but on the off chance that that's been the case, okay, you might be a little insecure about asking their opinion. But what you need, spiritual, objective advice. That's the route you're supposed to take when you're trying to determine whether or not to walk away. You know, one time, this is before I was a priest, I remember I got a phone call from a friend. He's like, oh, she's amazing. Okay, she's amazing. Who's she? Oh, I met her 3 months ago. She's the best thing ever. She's beautiful. She loves God. She's a servant. She's a doctor. She's blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. What do you think? I'm like, what do you think? What do I think? Like, well, what do you think? Should I keep going? I was like, what are your doubts? I just have a feeling. I'm like, oh, what's your feeling? I don't really know. I just have a feeling. It's like, okay, well, how long have you been feeling it? 3 months. So the entirety of the relationship, you've had this feeling. So I'm just like, I've been feeling uneasy this entire time. Have you talked to Abuna? Abuna, you know, it's Bob. Okay, well, you're going to blame Abuna. Okay, so it's Abuna's fault, right? And I asked him, I said, if you just react here, what are you going to gain? And he got quiet. I said, okay. You owe it to yourself to get God-fearing advice. You might think something about Abuna, but in the end, if you're asking God to speak through him, then that's your person. Not because he's some sage, but because of the fact that you're asking God to speak through this person, to be his vessel. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, he told me he ended it. And it was the best choice he ever made. He ended up meeting an amazing girl that complimented him, and he felt a peace throughout the relationship. It was hard, it wasn't easy, but he always told me he knew that he needed to finish what he started. Okay? So the whole point is when you have spiritual guidance that is objective on the road, now we're talking about an appropriate route to get to the finish line. Okay? And here's what happens. I think everybody's had this, where you'll have a conversation with someone about it and you'll get the advice and the advice hits and you're like, oh yeah, I agree, you're right, gotta end it, gotta this, gotta that, okay. Then you leave and you're amped. I'm gonna do the right thing, I'm ready to go. 1 week passes. I'm still gonna do he looks so cute in that picture. I gotta do this, I know it's the right, the birthday is in 3 weeks. I don't want to ruin her birthday. The 1 month anniversary of when I had hair in my car, it's coming up. I gotta. Now y'all be laughing, people be doing stuff like this. And what happens? You start making up excuses about why you don't have to do the work. You justify and justify and justify. And then whatever conviction you walked out with after getting spiritual guidance, after asking God to speak, you lose it. And you lose it because you're not doing the work with it. This is not acceptable. When you have the Spirit on you, when you've prayed and asked for wisdom, asked for guidance, and you've been given it, finish what you start. You got a 72-hour window. 72-hour window of really just convicted resoluteness. Where is that coming from? Why am I saying 72 hours? Because the day it happens, it's pierced your heart. There's emotions. The second day, you're sober about it. The third day, you start to poke at it. Because it doesn't leave your mind. It's a big deal. It's a big choice. So my whole thing is, don't take a bunch of time. The longer you wait to make a choice, when you've agreed something is rational, the harder it will be to make it. You will create 1,000 reasons, and you will have 1,000 more circumstances to impede your path. That's the problem. So we have to be convicted. A spirit of decisiveness has to exist. Once you decide you're out and you have a plan, finish it. You will never be more resolute than in the moment you agree something is good for you. You will never be more resolute in the moment than in the moment you agree something is good for you. Okay. In the book of 1 Kings, chapter 18, verses 21 to 22, in the story of Elijah, one of my favorite stories, Elijah calls out the people of Israel for their lack of decisiveness. And he says, and Elijah came to all the people and said, how long will you falter between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, follow him. But the people answered him not a word. Then Elijah said to the people, I alone am left a prophet of the Lord, but Baal's prophets are 450 men. You know what this is? This is Elijah challenging the double-mindedness of Israel, the indecision of Israel. Israel being unwilling to offend, Israel being unwilling to make the hard choices. That Israel suffered, and it was overwhelmed. You have a choice in your life. When you are decisive about your choices, you don't look back. You do the work and you move forward. If you're asking for guidance and you've been given it, don't keep asking. You're clouding the water. You're clouding the path. Oh, well, Abuna, but what if this person's wrong? Let me ask you a question. Did we say that we're asking God to speak through this vessel? Did we say that? Yes or no? Did we say we're asking God to speak through this vessel? Okay, so if you're asking God to speak through this vessel, and it doesn't work, but it's supposed to work, do you really think God's going to keep it away from you? No. No. That's the point. Be decisive and do the work. The last part about being decisive, sorry, you're not going to like this. I hate the word break. Don't use that word. We're on a break. We're taking a break. Break, break, break. We're breaking your heart, we're breaking your knees, we're breaking your bank, we're breaking your, break. What are you breaking? What are you doing? Stop with the breaks. Be done. Be done, slam the door. When you keep making it a break, you're making an exception, you're leaving a door, and that means you don't trust God. You don't trust God. Doesn't work. You want to trust God, trust him all the way. Don't trust him 50%. Don't trust him 75%. Don't trust him 33.3%. Trust God. Stop with the brakes. Close the door, lock it. God's bigger than your door, promise you. So the first thing we talked about was the reasons. And the reasons, there are God reasons and not God reasons. And any reason that shakes your all-inness is enough reason to walk away. But reflect on your reasons, sit with them, meditate on them. And secondly, we talked about the route. Who do you talk to? We avoid the counsel of Sephora and PlayStation. We're going to leave them behind, okay? We're going to focus on the spiritual, unbiased wisdom, who we're asking God to speak to us. And we need to be decisive about our choices. Don't say yes today and run away in a couple of days. Say yes and stick to it. The longer you go, the harder it is to do. And now the last part, which I'm sure everyone's been waiting for. How do we end it? How do you actually put the nail in the coffin? All right. So, you have gone through the whole process. You have decided, I'm going to end this. My favorite is all right, Abuna, I'm going to end it. A couple days later, I ended it. Cool. How did you do it? I texted them. What the? Excuse me? How long are you guys in a relationship? 9 months. You just texted them? Someone did this. I was like, are you kidding me? 9 months, you just texted them? It's like, this person knows where you live. You could die. Like, I'm out. I'm not getting away with this one. You don't ask for it, whatever. Listen, if you were brave enough to ask them on a date, to get dinner with you, to be vulnerable with them, you should be brave enough to say it face to face. No questions at the end. No questions now. Nice try. All right? Say it face to face unless the circumstances prohibit it. Okay? Yeah, if there's long distance, etc., that's different. But if it's something where this person's local, have a face-to-face conversation, be an adult about it. Okay? In order to do it, though, you got to mentally prepare. Here are the things that are guaranteed when you're going to go through this process. There will be tears. Someone is going to try and keep a loop going. No one just, it's very rare that there's a mutual, yeah, this is good, let's just end it, thank God. Like, that's not a thing, right? So, someone's always got a little bit more in the game of like, no. And why is that the case? Anyone know why? Why do you think that's the case? Why do you think it is that there's always one person who's more shaken by the breakup? There it is. One person made up their mind, the other one hasn't. And so unfortunately, one person's will has been taken from them, and one person was in full control. No matter what, it stinks. So you have to prepare for the tears. Prepare for the psychological struggle of knowing that you might have taken someone's agency away from them. Okay? And most importantly, you need to pray before you do it. That God give you the courage to do what you have to do and do it respectfully. The next part of actually ending it is that you gotta look the person in the eye and not blame them. Yeah, it's not working out. Well, what do you think it is? Oh, I don't know. It's just, we're just better as friends. What does that mean? Well, we're friends. What does that mean? You suck. You're really annoying. I just don't like talking to you. Your voice hurts my ears. What? Come on, bro. What do we always do? We make it about us. That person's the problem. You didn't satisfy me. That's why I'm ending it. No. You're ending it because there is an incompatibility that makes it hard for you to be who you need to be in this relationship. You understand what I just said? It's an incompatibility that does not enable you to be yourself in the relationship. Well, that's kind of ambiguous. What do you mean by that? I don't have peace. And because I don't have peace, because I have stuff I have to work on, I can't be what you need. That is being accountable. That's being accountable. I hate when I hear people say, oh, it's just no big deal, and then they just rip you. Like, this person has already been wounded. Are you going to kick them when they're down? And if you've been on the other side of that, you know what that's like. It's not fun. But we're so callous and insensitive. And it's because we're going into the relationships with the wrong viewpoint. If you are going into a relationship to be served, stay out of it. If you are going into a relationship to serve, fight for it. That's the key. And too often, my brothers and sisters, we make the mistake of not doing that work, of not being accountable, that we have a deficiency, that we cannot overcome whatever incompatibility exists. It is an us thing, not a them thing. Your goal when you end something is to preserve the other person's dignity, self-respect, self-love, and confidence. You can't fix it for them, and you can't protect it fully, but you can do your part. You can at least come halfway. So when you end it, unless it's something, by the way, violence. Like, if someone hits you, you're like, yeah, I don't have peace. No, I don't, because I'm afraid of you. Like, you're going to kill me. Like, yes, right? Or if they cheated. Oh, we're just not seeing eye to eye. No, you were actually fooling around. Like, these are wrong things. That's different. Then you can be like, there's no worry about your self-confidence. You're clearly a scumbag. I don't have time for this. Like, I can't deal with this. Okay? So, it's not about what they're lacking. It's that there is an incompatibility that is inhibiting your ability to be the person that they need. Okay? When this happens, there's a lot of sadness. But you know what the sadness is for? Everybody thinks, oh, I'm going to miss him so much. I'm going to miss her so much. She's the best ever. No, that's actually not what you're grieving. What you're grieving is the loss of the idea of who that person was, who you thought they were. You thought this person was all of these things, and you believed they would fill all of these voids, and they did not. And that is what you're grieving. You're grieving that you have lost the idea of the person. Because guess what? The same person that just hurt you, that just walked away from you, or that you just walked away from, has the same incompatibilities with you that they had up front. So what you're doing is you're coming to terms with the fact that this person is not who I hoped they were. And that might mean I'm not who I thought I had to be. Okay? So that's what you're grieving in this process. Now, you end it. By the way, the longer you take in a breakup conversation, the worse it gets. The worse it gets. Sitting there, do you remember that time? Was it this time? Was it when you did this thing on this day? Is that why this happened? Is it because your mom said this on this day? Is it because at this party you did this or I did that? The longer you talk, the more questions get asked. The more questions get asked, the more hurt feelings. The more hurt feelings, the deeper the wound. If you've ever worked in management in your life, when you terminate someone, your job is not to sit there and have a conversation with them about all the amazing things that they did. I'll tell you a funny story. So when I was not much younger than I am now, because I'm very young, but I remember that it was one of the first people I ever had to let go. And it was an older lady, and I was telling her, you've been such a wonderful asset to the company, and we're so thankful for you, and we really, really love you, and we're going to have to unfortunately part ways. And you know what though? You're so great, and you're awesome, and all. And she's like, so if I'm so awesome, why are you firing me? And I was like, well, company policy, I'm sorry, we're going to have to, So, I mean, it got worse. Like, I ended up letting her go. I gave her the document. She called a lawyer. The lawyer found out that, like, the way we did it wasn't right. We had to pay her extra, like, $5,000. And my boss is like, what did you say in that meeting? And I was like, nothing God wouldn't have said. Yeah, it didn't go very well for me. The longer you talk, the more problems and mistakes you make. Okay? Less words. Get to the outcome and close the door. If your job is to sit there and reminisce and all of these things, that's not going to work. Now, does that mean you're like, hey, today on June 2nd, we're going to end our relationship. It's been a nice time. Thanks for all you've done. God bless you. I'm praying for you. Bye. No, you don't do that either, right? You're sensitive without being connected. And at the same time, you're not callous and abrupt. Say what needs to be said. Don't answer a ton of questions. Get up and leave. You know the other thing that happens when we don't do this? We fall into lust all the time. It's that last hug, that last goodbye. And that last goodbye becomes why. All the physicality, then the guilt picks up. It's a mess. Can't happen. Cannot happen. Move quickly. There's a bunch of other things I'd love to say. I'm going to just kind of tackle them quickly. When you decide that you're going to walk away, I said no break. Go cold turkey on the person. Block, delete everything. Every picture, every text, every DM, every ma'raf shay'e, get rid of it. Why? Because if you don't get rid of it, you're going to reminisce in it. And when you reminisce, somebody always has access and somebody always comes back. Please, if you don't hear anything I say tonight, hear this. The 4 to 8 weeks after a relationship ends are the most detrimental to the people involved. That's when the most lust happens. That's when the most scarring happens, because that's when the most indecision and impulsivity happens. When you close the door, close the door. The person that you walked away from, or the person who walked away from you, needs time to heal. Everybody needs to heal. So you delete, you block, you close the door. Not because you hate the person, not because you're petty. And that's the problem, is you think you're petty. Oh, I don't need that. I got self-control. I'm fine. And then you're sitting there at like 1 in the morning. I miss her so much. Just checking on you. I'm just praying for you. How are you doing? Yeah. No one needs your freaking phone calls. No one needs your texts. You understand? No one needs your text. It's disrespectful and it's offensive when you walk away from someone that you think you're going to be their support system. Kick rocks. Leave that person alone. The number of times, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they're saying this. It feels like maybe there's a sign when they say, how are you? I saw 2 question marks. What do you think that means, Abuna? It means the person's an idiot. What do you think it means? Don't do anything with that. Close the door. Be serious about that. Slam the door shut, delete, block, no access to see this person. Restrict where you see them. The second part of it is you have a gap inside of you now, a massive gap. And that gap needs to be filled with God. Your prayer, your reading, your school, your work, your family. Fill it with all the things God intended. There's a massive chasm here. You will not be able to fill it by just not contacting the person. You have to fill it with the righteous things God has given you. And then you examine. You take the time to examine. What could I do to be a better partner? To be more tolerant, more patient, or more firm and less flexible? What do I have to do? What do I deserve in the next relationship? These are the questions you got to be asking yourself. And oh boy, the last one, time. If you have been in a relationship where you have thought about marriage and you have been serious about thinking about marriage, you need at least 2 to 3 months off. 2 to 3 months of behaving. 2 to 3 months of not flirting on Instagram with other people, not going to events to hang out with cute this or handsome that. Not 2 to 3 months of just drinking yourself into the ground. No. You need 2 to 3 months of real spiritual time in your life where you are disciplined, where you are ascetic, where you are detoxing from all the things that happened here, where you are learning without being jaded by the moment. The problem with why so many breakups blow up in our lives is because we don't do any of this. We're constantly giving people access to us. We don't do enough things with God. We don't do any examination. It's clearly the other person's fault because that person's just a massive jerk and God forgive them, but I'm perfect. Or you know what? Maybe I'm just a piece of garbage and I should just go to the next person and it'll be fine. I just need to get married so I can be happy. Or they're like, okay, I think I'm healed. How long has it been? Well, 72 hours, but I'm ready to go. Stop. Slow down. Pump the brakes. Be serious. If you want to settle down, and by the way, if you think the person that you broke up with or broke up with you, that there's a future for you, slam the door shut. Actually heal. And then, if that's supposed to come back, another door will open. But we don't do that. Why? Because at the beginning, what did I say? Those who lean on God, when they walk away, are 100% going to benefit from the breakup. But we don't 100% lean on God. We're like this. Hi, God. Good to see you. Just move over, you're in my way, right? That's what we do. We give him a touch, not trust. We got to be better. St. Augustine teaches us that the consequence of a distorted will is passion. And by serving passion, habits are formed. And habits where there is no resistance become necessity. It's a real danger. Again, the consequence of a distorted will not being decisive is passion. You give in to your desires. By serving passion, a habit is formed, and it's not a good one. And a habit to which there is no resistance becomes necessity. Okay? So the 3 steps that we talked about are the reasons. Reflect on why it is you feel like it's not a thing. Number 2 is the route. Be decisive when you speak with your spiritual guides. And number 3 are the rules. Stick to the rules. You stick to the rules, you're going to get results. You walk away from them, it's not going to work out for you. May each one of us make the choice that if we end up having to go down this road, we do it in a way where everybody can heal, where there's grace, where there's goodness, and there can be growth, because there is God. And glory be to God forever and ever. Amen. All right. Now we'll do the Slido. All right, let's see how this goes. All right. Okay. 38500595. All right, cool. Let's see how we did. All right, not that bad. We're okay. Okay. If you've ended a relationship already and have confidence that it was from God, how do you fully detach your feelings and stop thinking about the relationship? Well, I think the idea of fully detaching is silly, okay? Like, you're never going to fully detach. I promise you that if you see an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend or someone that you were dating 10 years after you're happily married, you might feel some sort of weird way, not because you miss the person, but like that's a trauma in your life. Like, you know, if Bassem, like, you know, roundhouse kicked me in the head and knocked me out, like, every time I see Bassem, it doesn't really matter. Like, I'm not going to be happy even if I know that I can take him. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, I'm always going to be like, oh, that sucked, right? So, like, there's you're never going to roundhouse kick me. Don't worry about it. You can't kick that high. Not worried about it. So you're not going to stop thinking about it. What will happen is the longer that you go and the more disciplined you are and the more things that are good in your life that happen, this thing will become more and more of a footnote in your life. These all become timestamps instead of traumas the longer we go. All right? So you need time for it to heal. You can believe it was the right thing to walk away. But if you believe it's the right thing to walk away and you still have feelings, it just means more time is necessary and more abstinence is necessary. Whenever there are lingering feelings, you need to keep the distance between you guys. How do we go about a relationship that looks perfect on paper with no major problems, but you have that fuzzy confidence about it or uneasiness? I talked about this at the beginning. It's a lot of prayer and a lot of really sitting with, where is this uneasiness coming from? That story I told you guys earlier about my friend, I ended up figuring, he told me later what it was. She seemed too perfect. And anybody who doesn't have a hole anywhere, now we have a worry that this person's putting on a show. So he felt that there was an inauthenticity, and sure enough, he was right. A lot of it was all on paper how it looked, but not necessarily the reality that there was more underneath it. So when you feel that way, pray about it, and it also means that if everything looks perfect, but you're not sure, you gotta go slow. Your emotions gotta be guarded, be patient with feelings, like saying big words, meeting families, all of that needs to be, slow down, okay? What if you're in the same friend group as the other person? Inevitably, you're gonna see them, interact with them often. Yeah, so this is the one that stinks the most. You guys are lucky we're in a place where there's like 9 churches and 1,000 people that are hanging out all the time. There's always a new group or shidla to hang out in, right? Even here, there's enough people where if you saw like your arch nemesis, you could still hang out with 5 or 6 people in the other corner, right? I went to a church where it was one church. So if there was a breakup, what happens? The one person's not allowed to hang out with the group, so he just sits in the altar, and what are we going to do, right? So when you're in a friend group, I think it's about being wise about when you go to interactions, right? If it's less than 6 people, you're probably going to end up in a one-on-one conversation of some sort. Don't do it. So always make sure there's at least 6 people at the event. Make sure it's an activity, not a kickback. You guys just hanging out at somebody's house watching a movie, that's a recipe for an ambush or some sort of, recurrent feelings. So that's the stuff. And then also, don't be a jerk. Don't be unkind, right? It's not like, I'm not going to say hi to you, or I'm not going to this, or I'm not going to that, unless it's gotten disastrous. Like, no, it's more, hi, nice to see you. You dab it up. You keep enough distance where there's not any question that this is as platonic as it gets, right? Like, if I'm like this, and she's like, what does that mean? It's like, okay, that's not a me thing. That's a you thing, okay? This is called a dab. I do this to my dog. It's the same thing. Come on, bro. Like, what are you doing? So your goal is to give, that was mean, but I don't have a dog either. But the point is, you don't want to give someone any room to overanalyze. None. All right. There's never a wrong reason to break out. What about getting back together? Is there a circumstance where that would work? Yes, there is. If you can get out of that thing and actually close the door for a reasonable period of time and be praying about it and actually have limits, and you take the blessing of your father of confession when you go back, go for it. I'm sorry, if you go back in 2, 3, 4 weeks, I think that's a problem. My opinion, and this is not based on anything more than what I've seen, and I've seen enough of these, unfortunately, you need at least 2 to 3 months of cold turkey abstinence where you've lived righteously, they've lived righteously, for you to even consider the idea of getting back together with that person. And it can work if you do that work. If you're willing to do that, you will be amazed what God can do, because your heart is open to him. What if you've been broken up with and still can't get over them? That takes time. Like I said, it's a trauma, it's a wound. Remember that it has as much to do with them as it does to do with you, right? Because in the end, that person couldn't give you what you needed, which was to accept you, to love you, and care for you. So if you're still struggling with it, ask yourself, what are my coping behaviors? Oh, I just go to the bar and, we flirt with a bunch of people on Instagram and, we're going out and doing this and that. Okay, cool. Well, that's why. Your coping mechanisms stink. If your coping mechanisms are terrible, then it's going to take longer for you to heal. But if your coping mechanisms are healthy and righteous, you'll have a quicker path. I give everybody this timeline. It's not perfect, but it's at least what I have seen. I'll try to do this quickly. So the first 4 weeks, so 0 to 4, this is what I call D-Day, right? This is like the worst time. Like, it just happened, you had a bomb dropped on your head. You're miserable, okay? You're crying a lot, you're just not yourself, usually you're losing a bunch of weight, everything stinks. This is the period that you have to really be on your own. You have to be alone. Don't deal with the other person. Keep distance, okay? From there, you get to what we call sad days, okay? That's like 4 to 8 weeks. And this is where you're starting to be yourself, you're starting to eat again, but you still have moments where you're just like, oh, this really sucks. Like, I really miss this person, this and that. You're in your head still, right? But you're starting to function again. And then are what we call sober days, okay? I don't actually mean sober, by the way. This is 8 to 12 weeks, and in the sober days, what I tell people is this is where you understand it. Like, this needed to happen, this probably wasn't right. For some reason, I've got work to do, they've got work to do. It sucks, but I'm okay with it, I get it, right? And then, usually, this can go up to about 16, but then usually, healing days, this is 12 to 16 weeks. That's not working. Use something a little more fine. Really? Okay. The healing days, this is where you're starting to become yourself again. You're getting back into your rhythm. You're getting back into yourself. You still have moments of sadness, but it's not like it's something that's overarching. This 16-week healing process is not linear. It doesn't mean this is how it always works. Many times, it requires your discipline and your abstinence from the situation. If you keep re-traumatizing yourself, well, it doesn't matter. You're going to keep ending up in the cycle, right? And the cycle gets harder and harder to break out of. So you got to stick with it throughout the process. But if you do that work, you will find that sooner than later, you will be able to kind of get back up. So if you can't get over them, remember that you've got some work to do. Where do you draw the line between loving and forgiving like Christ? For example, your spouse is adulterous, so are we to God. He still forgives us. Look, if you're forgiving adultery premaritally, you have a bigger problem because it's going to blow up in your face in marriage. I'm just telling you. Like, that's scary. Don't mess around. Two things you don't mess around with when you're getting to know somebody. Violence and adultery. You don't mess with those two things. If someone's demonstrated adulterous behavior or violent behavior, you don't justify it, rationalize it, no, it's out. Out, run for the hills. And I will tell you, if you confess with me and any of that comes out, good night. I don't care if it's the girl. We fighting. You're getting out. I'm going to take you down. All right. Can you touch on girl-guy code and how, that's a good question. How long to wait after a friend, sister, brother ends a relationship with someone? All right. That's wild. All right. I love that. I love that. It'd be getting desperate out there, ain't it? It'd be getting desperate out there. There ain't no pool, I guess. Listen. I think that's a very circumstantial question. I'll answer it very quickly. But look, if this is something that, was a quick fling, a couple of months, okay. I think giving it 6 to 12 months, and if you're really feeling like an adult about it, have a conversation with the person. Make sure you have their blessing, right? Not their blessing. You're just letting them know, and then it's up to them, right? But if it's someone that's been in a deep 1-year, 2-year relationship, no. Don't even, what are you doing? There's no other person, are you sure? No one else. The person your brother dated. That doesn't work. How are we going to have Thanksgiving? I'm not sharing turkey with you. I'm leaving, right? I can go with the friend thing, and you got to be prepared to lose that friendship. No one should be prepared to lose that sister or brother. Nobody. What does not having peace look or feel like? I think It's an uneasiness. Every step you question, you're anxious. You're just not settled. You constantly feel like you're waiting for another shoe to drop. That's usually when you know that there's no peace. How do we balance being intentional while dating without creating a feeling of pressure on the other person or scaring the men or boys? Well, you will not scare men. You will scare boys, okay? And you will not scare women, you will scare girls. You understand? Right? Guys, I don't do these talks to give you access to one another inappropriately or premaritally. We give these talk about how to get married and how to go through the process to achieve the oneness of the sacrament. So you should always be intentional while dating. The idea of feeling pressure, if you're giving people timelines, I want you to know that you got to put a ring on this by 6 months, otherwise we're not doing this anymore. No, that's not the answer. But also, don't sit there for 9 months and wonder, are you really interested or not? No, call them out. What are we doing here? Okay? I'm not going to waste my time just being your plaything. Within 6 months, again, this is why I keep saying it's a GYP thing. Within 6 months, you should know whether or not there are enough things here to lay your life down for this person. Within 6 months. Okay? If you don't know that within 6 months, you're not asking the hard questions, and you're not serious about it. Okay? And by the way, the other thing that doesn't put pressure, don't be having the family up in every single conversation. Bro, what are you saying? No one wants to talk about engagements and popping questions. Leave me alone, right? You talk about those things with your father at confession, okay? And when the time comes and you're ready to do it, then you let everybody in your life know, and you come up with your plan. Okay? But you're getting your parents involved, and they're aware. Then they have conversation with the person. Oh, I think it's coming soon. Oh, I don't know if it's coming. I was like, come on, what are we doing? Give me a headache. What are you doing? There's a lot of arguments in the relationship. Depends what they are. If they're frivolous and silly, about things that are minutia, okay, I think that's, that probably speaks to immaturity. If they're about real things, deal breakers, now we're having substantive conversation. That's probably a good thing. If the hurt doesn't go away after weeks or months, does that mean you made the wrong decision or you're healing in the wrong way? Look, everybody's healing is not linear. Some people take a different wound. It also depends on the trauma that you experienced, right? Did you get cheated on? Did you get hit? Did you get lied to? Did they move on very quickly? There's a lot of things that go into how long it takes you to heal. Don't put a timeline on healing. There's a great book called From Good to Great. I believe it is. I could be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong. But there's a story about a prisoner of war, and he said that the difference between him and other people who were prisoners of war when he was in Vietnam was that he didn't put a timeline on when he'd be rescued. And because he didn't put a timeline on it, he was hopeful for when the moment would come instead of expecting a moment to come. So don't expect that you're going to heal by this date. Just do the work to heal, and you will be amazed how fast the healing goes. When is the right time to say the L word, and how do you know you feel that way? Yeah, love is a big deal. I do not like using that word. I'm sorry, people disagree with me. I believe 6 months, that's my opinion. And you need to be ready to marry this person and say, I love you, okay? Don't throw that word around. Love is why God died for you. You understand? Love is why God died for you. I love you so much because your hair is so nice. I love you so much because shut up, bro. Get over your life. What are you saying? Come on. You be using this word very casually. Love means I'm ready to lay my life down for you. I'm ready to lay my life down for you. If that puts pressure on you, and you're like, oh, I haven't said it yet, it's been a while. Well, listen, ask yourself, what's the holdup? Okay? And how do you know you feel that way? Don't ever think that it's a linear thing of I am, every day I want to marry you. Every day. No, it's hard. I'm anxious. I'm stressed, but I care for you, and you're worth it, and I'm going to keep working. And that's how you know you love someone, is you keep working. You don't walk away. If you keep working, then God can work. How do you deal with stepping away from a relationship that you genuinely felt was sent from God? Well, if you feel like it was sent from God, but you feel like stepping away, someone's wrong. Right? Somebody's wrong. And so I'll always tell you that if you feel like stepping away, even if you think it's from God, walk away. Because if you walk away and it is from God, it'll come back. And the benefit is you got out instead of God having to pull you out. Versus, I stay in it until it doesn't work, and then I'm looking at God why did you let this happen to me? Do the work of walking away. Do the work of walking away and let God bring it back your way. What do you do if an ex is trying to interfere in your current relationship and you can't fully cut them off and you did have the boundaries talk? Listen, if that person's trying to interfere, I'm really sorry. I would tell you that that's a sickness in them. That's their own ailment. But the second part of that is you can try to interfere, but if the two people on the inside know what the work is and are doing it correctly, then nobody can interfere, okay? You can't interfere in something that you don't know about. Is it valid to leave a relationship because you see a bigger potential in it? That's wild. I'm not even going to answer that. If you have that thought, don't be in the relationship or either of them. Is there ever a world where you can remain as friends after time passed? Yeah, you can. If you do friendship correctly, okay? I love this question. Why? Because none of you do friendship correctly. There is friendship and familiarity. Familiarity is one-on-one. Familiarity is intimate emotional deposits. Familiarity is being vulnerable to one another. That's never coming back. That has to go away. Friendship is I hang out in a group. If I ever text you, it's transactional. Are you going to this meeting? Great, see you there. Do you have the assignment? Are you going to this retreat? That's what you're supposed to be doing when you're a friend. Hang out in a group. Talk about shallow things. If you're emotionally making deposits with this person, it is not a friendship. It is a familiarship. And familiarships always lead to foolishness. Don't do that. You can go back to being friends if you actually go back to the point before you liked each other. When you were just friends. Oh, she's nice. Oh, he's cool. Dabs, call it a day. Why would you step away from a relationship with your confidence from God, and all you've done is better each other, heal, and bring each other closer to God? How am I supposed to? You told yourself it's right, okay? Whatever you want. Have fun. I don't care. How can I approach a guy who's giving me mixed signals about him giving me mixed signals? Tell him it's mixed signals. What do you want? Y'all are so afraid of confrontation. If it's your mom and the molachaya in the house, you will yell all day, right? It should have been hot. Why are you in my room again? Leave me alone. All these things. You will yell at these people. But God forbid you say, hey, you've been giving me weird hugs, and you've been texting me at 2 o'clock in the morning to ask if I'm awake. What's going on here? And they can say, oh, I just see you as my brother or my sister. Well, stop texting me. Because that's inappropriate. Respect me as I respect you. What if the breakup was caused due to family members of significant others not accepting you? Oh, this one burns me up. Listen, whenever first off, I'm sorry. If this happened and family members got in the way of a relationship and the priest supported the relationship, many times, it sucks, it's a wound. It has nothing to do with you. It doesn't have anything to do with the partner either. Well, on some level it does. But it starts with the parents, okay? No parent should tell you who to marry, period. No parent should tell you who to marry, period. You don't like it, you don't like it. I'm paying for the wedding. Oh, they can get a loan, no big deal. Relax, okay? The point is, when parents interfere in this way, this is not the first time they've interfered in the life of this person. This person doesn't have proper boundaries in their home, okay? There is a balance between asking for guidance and support and a difference between that and somebody telling you what you can and can't do, all right? Again, this is college people, Baba, Mama, get out of my life. I have boundaries. You're not allowed to tell me who I can date. This is not for you, okay? You are ready to get married. You have a job. You are finishing grad school. Your priest is telling you, you are of the age and you are ready to get married. If all of those things exist, then when mom and dad are like, he's from where? Oh, our families won't go on a vacation together. Absolutely not. Okay, really? No. I don't care what you think. That's not Christian. It has nothing to do with God. Now, okay, you're dating a drug addict. Okay, a different conversation, right? No priest is supporting that. I'm positive, okay? So it's not a question. It comes down to what is the reason that there is this rift. If the reason is cultural, if the reason is about status or money, these are not righteous reasons. I'm sorry. Take it up. Is there ever a time where a break can be beneficial? No. If you call it a break, there's hope it's going to come back. Stop with the hope. Hope in God, not in a person. How to deal with emotions of anger toward a former partner who's hurt you plenty in the past. Yeah, you have to process that. Sometimes it might mean that you need therapy. You might have gotten destroyed on a level that you don't even realize, okay? When anger is coming out, many times there are things you didn't say, things you didn't realize were done to you, and you're just processing them in real time. And it makes you mad. That's normal, and that usually requires more help. You can't just pray away pain. You pray about pain, and you do the work to let pain go. Combined, these things build you. Do you mean 2 years to engagement or marriage? To marriage. 1 year of courting, 1 year of engagement, married. That's what I prefer. Why? Because the 1 year of getting to know each other is your opportunity to ask all the hard questions, and it's long enough where you can know who the person is, but not so long that you're probably going to make a purity mistake, which is always inevitable. The longer you go, the more purity mistakes you make. The more purity mistakes you make, the more jaded your opinion is about the person. Tips on kind of letting someone down after the first date? You can text them. Is it just, I'm serious. You can just say, it was really nice praying for you. I don't think this is a fit. If you feel brave, say it to their face or call them. Hopefully one date's not enough where they've lost their mind. Is it just wishful thinking to want a one and done? I mean, look, Abuna said it last week. There's fairy tale endings are uncommon, but sometimes it happens. Just don't get in the way of the work that has to be done in order to be the person you need to be, just so you can get the happy ending. Like, you gotta grow in the process. Is there such a thing as counterfeits? How do you discern one in your life if everything looks healthy? Time. Time is the thing that always tells you whether or not something's a counterfeit. Time and confrontation. Have real conversations about real things, and you will see whether or not this is real. If God is perfect love, why does drawing near sometimes feel like abandonment, and how can absence be part of communion? Okay, so you're saying, like, I'm getting closer to God, and I feel like I don't feel him. How can that be part of being connected to him? Okay, now I get it. I would tell you that many times God's love doesn't show up the way you want it to. If you feel like drawing near to God is abandonment, it's probably because you've put God's love in a box. It's that story I tell you guys about from Elijah. Actually, we'll go to it quickly, sorry. I think it's actually in the very next chapter. So this is after Elijah defeats the prophets of Baal, right? And then he runs out away from Jezebel, who wants to kill him. And then here's what God does. Behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind tore into the mountains and broke the rocks in pieces before the Lord. But the Lord wasn't in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, the Lord was not in an earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice. And what does this tell you? God doesn't show up the way you think he's going to. His abandonment is because you put him in a box. You've abandoned the nature of God. You've put God in this box instead of saying he is outside the box and you are in the box. Let God guide you to what you need. God, I don't know what your love is supposed to feel like. This is what I think it is. What is it supposed to be? Let me feel your connection. Let me know you're there. And wait for him. Pressure of physical intimacy from a partner even after communicating, leave. Tell your father confession about someone immediately. What about the timeline for a long-distance relationship? Yeah, that can be different. I think if you guys are older, it could be shorter, depending on how sure you are. Okay, we need to stop with the timeline for a long-distance relationship. Yeah, so, I mean, if you're younger, take your time. If you're older, you might need to move the process forward. But it doesn't change that much. You can't say, like, oh, well, it has to be 2 years, it has to. No. You figure it out based on what you guys are all feeling and thinking. The appropriate age to start dating, if you're asking it, you probably need some time. What time apart to analyze a relationship or pray about it? Okay. This one I like, but I'm going to tell you why. I think you should be analyzing a relationship before you get into it. I'll tell you guys a story. I have a friend of mine who I admire deeply. He met the girl that he ended up marrying, and they hung out, and they were friends and everything in a group, and then he finally, was like, I think I have feelings for her. And I remember being in church one liturgy. It was like it was a weekday liturgy. And he'd come into church, but I couldn't see him. So I saw him when he came in, but I didn't see where he was the whole liturgy. And then I was looking for him, and I found him in the altar sobbing, crying his eyes out. And I remember just leaving him. Like, he got engaged a year later. And I asked him, I said, what was going on the altar that day? He's like, I was begging God before I started with what I felt, that it be right, that I not hurt her, that I not fall short, that if it was from him, that I don't destroy it. He was doing all the work before he started, before he asked her on the first date. That's what we're supposed to be doing. When you like someone, when you have strong feelings because they make you laugh or they're cute, or run away from it and start praying and start saying, God, I don't want to wreck this person. I don't want to get wrecked. I want to do this right. Please, if I'm going to do it, please be with me. Do that work. We don't do that. We want to pray when we're already knee deep in it. And what are we praying? God, finish it. Get it to the finish line. Make it happen. Your prayer comes with bias. And that's why you feel stuck. Don't take time apart to analyze the relationship. Stay apart and analyze the relationship before you start it. And if you walk away, close the door and pray, God, if it is supposed to come back, make it a way that I can't open. Not the wind, not the earthquake, not the fire, the gentle whisper of your voice in a way I could have never planned for, and a way only you could show me. I'll take 2 more and we're done. When is it appropriate to end the talking stage if we're supposed to make it official after 6 months and my partner's still ready? You're about there. Have the conversation. It's time. And if they're not willing to move forward and be serious, that's a them thing. Probably means they're not in the right place in life, which means you started it too early. Or they're not mature enough, which means you deserve more. Is someone having a past? I've talked about this enough times. One more question. Let's see. Huh? Yeah, that's a good point. Reasons. Is there a good question? You can ask it. I'm not going to answer this one. I'll answer yours. You said it was a good question. Now you got to do. There it is. Okay. Analyzing becomes overthinking. Yeah, let your yes be yes and your no be no, okay? Pray about it, give it a finite amount of time, sit with your father of confession, do those things and kind of leave room, right? But, if you're sitting here and if you're analyzing all the time in your head, then that means you're not leaving room for God, okay? The way it works, it's supposed to be in your mind, and the goal is to get it through and to score and then let the pinball drop out, right? Not to keep bouncing the whole time. The longer it bounces, you get more points, but eventually your head starts to spin, okay? So overthinking comes from not putting prayer into it, not having spiritual guidance, and being paralyzed by the analysis. The analysis is, I've done my homework, I've looked at this clearly, I've prayed about it, I've given it time, my emotions have settled. Now it's time to move forward. All right, anything else? Once, twice, glory be to God forever and ever. Amen. Let's pray together. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Make us worthy to pray thankfully, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. In Christ Jesus our Lord, for thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Don't go anywhere, guys. Take a picture for the gram. All righty. Ready. Fill in. 1,